Robin, just looking at individual performances, it's hard to actually single. I mean, everyone seemed to have played well on Saturday.
Generally they did, yeah. Still just one or two areas where perhaps we didn't assert ourselves quite as much as I hoped we would. I thought in the second row, I'm still waiting to see the best of Eben Etzebeth again. I'm still waiting to see his sort of 2012, 2013 form. He's sort of still just sort of almost like a point shy on a 10-point scorecard of where he was last season. Now, he's still incredibly useful, don't get me wrong. Fantastic guy to have around, and he is the future, I think, at number 4 lock. But Victor Matfield also, not the sort of game where he was quite able to sort of run amok, if you like, on the New Zealand throw in the line-outs, not as much as he would have liked. And they also put a bit of pressure on the box, didn't they? With Whitelock sort of, So second row wasn't great, although Matfield had a great game the week before against the Wallabies, I thought. So, no major alarms. We do have some good depth at lock, but the performances that obviously stood out. I mean, I gave 8 out of 10s to all of Dwayne Vermeulen, Jan Serfontein, Andre Pollard. I'm trying to think who the other one was, but anyway, there were a few players who were right up there for excellent scores, and it was collectively a good Springbok showing. There weren't too many weaklings. I thought somebody like Brian Habana, even though not that much action sort of happened on his side of the field. If you look at the replay of the game, you'll see all the valuable work that he did in terms of alertness on defence. He's very good at sort of anticipating situations and doing donkey work and fetching. A lot of our backline players actually were affecting turnovers. I thought Serfontein was absolutely terrific as a fetcher. Brilliant. You could almost play him as your number 6, especially since he's cut all the locks off. But so, plenty of pleasing aspects. There's no question of that. And let's not forget that New Zealand, for all New Zealand's talk about key players missing, we were also missing a few players who might well be first choices come the World Cup. Your Fourie de Preez, Jacques Fourie, Francois Lowe, Willem Alberts. They weren't playing either. So it was a little bit of a sort of an even out situation.
Francois Lowe as well.
Exactly. Yeah. They were at each team was at sort of 3/4 strength in terms of sort of first team, if you like. So they kind of neutralised each other on that score, and it was just fantastic that South Africa got the win.
Tank, final word from you. What kind of a squad can we expect Hanneke May to take for the November tests?
Well, I'm normally in the Houwing camp suggesting that we should rest a few players. But actually, I think it's been a strange season. I think they've had lots of time off between Super Rugby and International Rugby. They haven't played Currie Cup Rugby, and they're going to a place where they're going to be playing the Rugby World Cup in less than a year's time. So my gut feel here is that I think stick to the knitting. I mean, go with the players that you're probably going to take to the World Cup as much as possible. I see it's one of those dreadful out of IRB games. The Welsh game is out of the IRB window, so then we won't be able to call on the overseas-based players. So I'm not sure what he'll do there, but yeah, I think my gut feel here is I think stick with the guys that are going to go to the World Cup, your top-ranked players. They've got a full month off now before the tour.
That's a big difference this year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it makes sense. Sure, it's a 4-game tour. It'll be quite heavy, but getting used to those conditions, I think, will be really, really useful for next year.